It is Thursday. I'm feeling a little anxious. I recorded earlier this week. I felt like there was something that wasn't authentic or aligned with who I am and the message that I want to put out there in regard to art therapy. Thank you for just bearing with me as I kind of figure out what this Make with Jae Mornings looks like. I felt a little uncomfortable with sharing my videos over the past couple of days because it felt so packed in, like layer after layer after layer after layer of different experiences, different emotions that came up that lead to other thoughts and emotions. And so my purpose of Make with Jae is, of course, for us to all have space. So the last thing that I want to do is take my stuff and put it onto you. I never want what I'm saying or sharing to then be like projected onto whoever watches these, so that you have to carry something that's mine. And I was just feeling very sensitive around that this week. And I think that maybe brings us to an idea of why art is important, why finding creative outlets is important, why journaling. I think journaling for a lot of people is really helpful. But why this idea of expressing this outside of yourself in a way that feels right and safe to you is important. For me, what came up this week is that I feel it's important to do that and then share the parts that are necessary to share for you to kind of understand and track with me, but not to just put it all out there and then you have to suss out what's going on, what's important, and even carry some of my emotional weight. It's mine to carry. And this is such an interesting thing to think about, especially as the world opens back up and we are in contact with other people. But I also really want to hone in on this idea of projecting, because projecting happens typically subconsciously. Consciously just means that we stopped, we took a moment, and we actually looked directly at it, instead of just going throughout our day being like, well, I don't know what their problem is, or I don't care what they think. I'm going to say what I am. I'm going to say how I feel. And if they have to deal with it, they have to deal with it. We aren't taking responsibility for our own experiences, our own emotions, that we project these emotions onto everybody. It can be with strangers. Going shopping, we're out now in public with people. Sometimes our experiences become so big, emotions become so important that they spill over into other people's lives. There needs to be boundaries around how we choose to share with one another, to have healthy relationships with each other. So that's something I'm thinking about today, because I never want these videos to be something that is, when you watch it, you come away feeling heavier. So I'm thinking today about that idea of projection, as well as the idea of creativity being something that we apply to our lives. You know, even when we plan some things, we don't have to necessarily follow through if it's not feeling healthy, authentic, or aligned with who we are. And so I also want to kind of give you permission to release that pressure. I have a choice in how I navigate my day-to-day in my life. Instead of thinking about a material, and I've done this a few times, trying to like open that up, that idea of art and creativity, thinking about your schedule, your relationships. How do you creatively navigate your day and your life so that not only do you feel free and authentic operating in it, but those you come across in your path on a day-to-day also sense that permission to be their authentic self, and that there are boundaries around my emotions versus your emotions, my experiences versus your experiences, and we can relate in a healthy way to each other instead of projecting things onto one another, which causes more muddled mess and often pain and confusion and more to work through. How do we healthily manage and be responsible for ourselves? So I'm not sure if I'm going to make a physical piece of art around this, but I do want to put it out there to think about your life, your schedule, your relationships creatively. That is the material for today. Thank you for joining for week 3. I know this is probably going to be a little wonky as I figure out what is next for this, but I do really appreciate everyone who has chimed in to say that this has been helpful to create space and really identify how we're feeling and be creative, making something that represents that and helps us express and communicate it to ourselves and to those whom we love and interact with. I hope you've had a wonderful past 2 weeks, and as always, feel free to share on our Facebook group page, Make with Jae. You can also private message me. I have a friend who's been doing that with some of the things that she's making if you don't feel comfortable sharing publicly. And then you can also tag on Instagram, Lift, Hold, Heal. I look forward to hearing from you this week.